Hey guys, welcome to another episode of my podcast, Melvin on the Mic. And today I am on the mic with Jesse Murillo.
Hello.
Sorry I butchered your last name there. I didn't roll my
No,
R's.
you did fine. You did better than me, man. Don't worry about it.
I know Jesse this is funny. I think he's the third or fourth person on the podcast now that I'm going to say that I know through Explore Houston.
Yeah.
So we met some years ago through that group and then stayed in touch. And I don't know, how long ago was it that I actually guested on Jesse's podcast? I don't remember, like 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yeah, it was about that's been a minute. I'll say that.
It was last year.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It was 2021, right? So
yeah.
So what's going on with your podcast, man? You were building some momentum for a while, and it seems like maybe you're taking a slight break.
That's pretty much it. Just taking a break, So with the whole podcast thing, it was more of an experimental thing to do, just to try to see where it goes, because I was really in that phase of it, just exploring.
Yeah.
And when you explore, you're just doing different things. And with the whole podcast crave, I did it before COVID and simply just wanted to see where I can go with it. Now, with the issue with the podcast, or just the issue with me in general, I'm not a very social media type person.
Gotcha.
And just for me, there's just no encouragement when it comes to social media, because there's a lot of tricks and tips to the game, especially on social media, that I just not interested in anymore.
Yeah, you got to leverage social media for the growth, but if social media is not your interest, then it's kind of hard to push it.
Yep. And so it's on hold. I'm gonna say it like that. It's on hold because I don't know. I'm just still exploring, still trying to figure out what exactly what is my purpose when it comes to entertainment.
Gotcha.
And I believe right now it's more catering towards the production side. I'd rather build a team that is a lot more entertaining than me, I would say, because I'm pretty basic and boring.
I mean, I had a good time on the podcast.
Yeah.
We ended up doing like a 2-hour sit down and didn't even realize 2 hours had flown by. And
and that's what I like. Like just casual talk, casual conversation, and get into some weird stuff.
Yep.
And and there's not a really big audience for that, especially if you're starting out brand new. I don't have a comedic following or anything.
Yeah, and it's a tough game because my YouTube channel, it's decent. I just hit 15,000 subs last week.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. And even with 15,000 subs, my podcast episodes currently, they're only bringing in 30 to 50 views.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that as a bad thing. I mean, hey, that's 30 people or 50 people that watch something I created. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
But compare that to some of my other content, like I'm doing some reaction videos and things like that. And
mm-hmm.
those can get 1,000 to 2,000 views in day one. So it's catering to a different market, catering to a different interest. And so it's going to be a slower build, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm initially starting with it on YouTube, because I want to get some episodes under my belt first before I start even looking into taking it to the podcast networks. I have a plan in place for taking it to podcast networks, but it takes some out-of-pocket expense to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to invest more money into it yet until I know I'm in love with it,
Yeah. And and that's really what it is. It just takes time. And that's with anything, really, just trying to figure out what you enjoy and what you're good at.
Yeah.
And there's no need to be kind of harsh on yourself, because not everyone knows from the get-go what they enjoy. I started this whole entertainment thing. When I started, it was crazy. I basically got almost $5,000 in debt off of whim of just buying a camera.
Yep.
That was the camera alone.
Yep.
No experience, no production experience, no nothing. It was just a flat out decision, charging that credit card $5,000. That was my starting point. And now from there, I worked on cars, which
mm-hmm.
was more of a passion for mine, but I simply didn't enjoy the scene. The scene got a little bit too much drama for me.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's gotten to a point where it's not enjoyable. And now I went to short film. Short film was one of the things I really enjoyed doing. I just could never get it to work. And from post production to writing shorts to editing shorts to directing. I was basically doing all that by myself with zero experience. So
it's tough. I mean, from conception to completion, it's definitely difficult to do on your own.
Yep.
And it really does suck in the beginning because you are wearing every hat. But
Yep.
one thing I can say that I appreciate about that, because I've done it quite a bit myself, is you learn every part of it so that as you do begin to build a team, you can know realistically kind of where things should be broken up and who should cover what, and then you know what their expectation level should be, because you know what you had to do to get that segment or that portion of it done, so you know what to expect of them to get that done.
Yeah.
But it is very difficult. I was just talking to a buddy about this yesterday, how my merch, right? So like I have merch, it's on Teespring and Spreadshirt or whatever it's called, and Redbubble, and it's kind of like all over the place. And YouTube just announced a couple weeks ago that now they're opening the merch partnership up to Shopify. So I'm like, finally, now I can take all my different merch lines, all the different things I want to do, and then I'm going to build a Shopify website instead, and then I can link that to my YouTube instead of all these other places, right? But I don't know when I'm going to find the time to do it all. Like, I build websites all the time, it's not an issue. But finding the time to set up all the different print-on-demand services, because I want some for prints for like my NFTs, like what's on these walls over here, and what's in the background behind you, right? I want to start putting those kind of prints out, and they're from one service, and then I want to do puzzles for the puzzle stuff I do. That's a different service. And then I want to do t-shirts and other stuff. Well, that's a different service. So feeding all these different services into Shopify and making sure it all works correctly. And then finally taking it and connecting it to my YouTube. I'm like, damn, dude, I can make some money off that, but that's like months of work,
Yeah, that's man. That's a handful. Yeah, no, dang.
I wish I could just source it out to somebody.
Yeah. No, that's a lot. Like, wow. Yeah, I mean, especially, what is that dumb saying? It's like being your own boss is better than having a 9-to-5 job. Hell no, it ain't.
It's not, because it's not a 9-to-5, it's 24/7.
Yeah, and it was an old saying. Like, it's not an old saying, but it's like a saying. Like, I quit my 9-to-5 job to be my own boss. And and that sounds like, oh, that one hits me hard, because to be honest, to be very realistic, a 9-to-5 job is a hell of a lot easier than being your own boss.
Absolutely.
Because when you're technically your own boss, or whatever entrepreneurship you want to do, it's 24/7. Yeah. It's 24/7. You wake up thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it. It's 24/7, and at that point in my life, with absolutely zero experience, I didn't know any better. We made a shit ton of mistakes.
Yep.
A lot of mistakes. So,
but you learn from them, right?
Oh yeah, definitely learn from learn a lot of personalities from other people, from myself, from clients. The logistics of it. It was a lot of learning stuff, and it was absolutely a lot of failure. And that failure really got to my head. That's one thing I really regret allowing myself to do, was really, how would I say, dive in that failure and feeling remorse about it, instead of just saying, oh, it's okay, and keep moving on.
And that's a hard thing to learn. It's a learned behavior for some people. Some people, it's just like, oh, I failed, whatever. And then other people, it's like, oh, I failed, and then you dwell on it, and you have to teach yourself not to dwell on it, because I've tried a million different things, and things that have not succeeded. And as much as it sucks, it's like, okay, I put all this time and energy, maybe even financial investment into this, and it failed.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I've invested a lot of money into things that didn't work out, and I'm okay with it now, because I now know it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's just like, move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
And see what will work.
Yeah, and that's when, from filming cars to doing short films to get into podcasts, and I was like, oh, let me just try podcasts, and because I was already doing filming stuff, and I did podcasts, bought all the equipment.
It's expensive, man. This setup right here that you're looking at,
yeah,
I'm sure you can add it up in your head.
Oh yeah, and then I got a custom table made out of it too. I was like, oh, walnut wood, and I've done it, and I paid a pretty penny for it, and you know, it didn't. I wouldn't say it's a failure. It's not a failure. It's just on halt because I still want to do it. I just don't know what I want to do.
But the other thing to think of too is if you're still looking to do something in the creative space, film, or short films or production, what have you, is that investment you made in that equipment. At least it's translatable. You can move it over to a different interest you have, right? So a lot of times when you jump into a business venture, you might dump a bunch of money into something, and then that business fails, but that whatever equipment, whatever supplies you bought are specific to that business, and they can't roll over to something else, right? So at least you have that working for you. And that's kind of the same thing with me. It's like I fell into video. Honestly, I was interested in photography, and when DSLRs started adding the ability to record on them,
isn't that strange?
Yeah, so I was like, I can start filming with this too. Okay.
Well, what I'm saying is that I feel like our generation is like a guinea pig.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're a lot older than I am, right?
Yeah. You could have just said older instead of a lot.
I mean, you're not a lot older, but...
I'm just kidding. How old are you, though? What, 30?
I'm like 32.
Okay, I'm 44, so yeah, 12 years is a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so... Well, no, what I'm saying is that you're an 80s, right? 80s baby?
78.
78, but you grew up in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I grew up in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like I could say I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Now, between 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, especially more towards the end of 2010, I would say 2010 is when it really got to where it is now.
That's when social media, the digital era.
Yeah. So talking about DSLRs, talking about phones with cameras, talking about recording on DSLRs, this whole social media aspect of doing filming, you know, doing all this stuff. This was all brand new.
Yeah.
You know, this was untouched realm. And, you know, it was literally the Wild Wild West.
What we're doing right now, you wouldn't be able to do at a residence.
Correct.
You would have to go to lease a studio space, or pay a rental fee, or buy all the equipment, and then the editing on computers and stuff wasn't really the way things worked. Yeah,
and you know, it was just a really strange time, and now I still feel like it's a strange time with how I guess media is moving. It's like we went from YouTube to like I say average 5-minute videos. There was a time during YouTube where like 20 minutes was a thing.
Yep.
And then we're back down to like 5 minutes. Now we're down to like, what is TikTok? A minute maybe?
Yeah. The interest span has changed, you know, like I always go back to this, and I always say I blame Vine for the short attention span, because Vine was 6-second videos, and people found out how to be creative in 6 seconds. And then when Instagram decided to challenge Vine, they came out with 15 seconds. And then they extended it to 30 seconds, then a minute, and then it was unlimited. YouTube, too. Same thing with YouTube. Like when video format started, I think the limit originally was like 7 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it went up to like 30 minutes and then an hour. And I think now, I don't know that there's an actual hard limit on how long a video could be.
There's not. I've seen there's some music streams on there. It's like 10 hours.
Yeah, and now I know if you're doing live, I think there's a cap on that. I don't know if it's an hour or two or something. If you're doing a live stream or a couple hours,
I think you have to pay to get more. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it is crazy, man. Because I got into photography. Honestly, I started taking pictures as a kid, right? And that was with film, and then it progressed, and I just always had an interest in it. Took actual photography in high school. All 4 years of high school, I took it. And then there was a big gap from then to creative wise. I always had a camera. Like I was always taking my camera and taking pictures at parties. The selfie, I've been doing that, since, I don't know, like 93 with actual cameras. Yeah.
Did you do the duck face?
Never did the duck face. But I graduated high school in 96. And then I got my first DSLR I think I got my first DSLR about 07 or 08.
Yeah.
And then that's when like a resurgence of creativity came to me, because I was like, I don't have to worry about spending money on film. I don't have to send things off to process, and I'm not limited to just these little, standard size prints.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. And then that's when I started teaching myself Photoshop and Then some lovely ladies I knew that worked at Hooters wanted to be in the tryout for the calendar and were like, "Hey, you take pictures, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I take pictures." Went on Amazon, ordered my first lighting kit. Didn't know what the hell I was doing, but figured it out. And before I knew it,
that's where it all started.
yeah, for that style of photography, yeah, because I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the creative aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I started putting work out. And then people were seeing it on social media, and they're reaching out to me to do shoots. And then sometimes I was reaching out to them to do shoots, and that just kept growing. And then video came about. To date, my number one video on YouTube is still revolves around my photography stuff. It was a behind the scenes of one of my body paint shoots, and that video
I've seen that one.
it's about to be at 5 million views.
Hey.
It's kind of the anchor of my channel.
Yeah, funny how that works. The videos you think that wouldn't get a lot of views end up being the ones with a lot of views.
Yeah, I think easily. I think about 7,000 plus of my subscribers are from that one video.
Oh wow.
Which is crazy to think, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just kept kind of evolving with things. I started getting into the action cameras, the GoPros, and more and more equipment, then 360 cameras, and then it just kept evolving and learning, and how can I apply this stuff to what I'm doing? And then websites came about. And sorry, you're my guest, and I'm over talking, but
No, you're doing.
that's kind of my evolution, though. Is it's like I start figuring out ways that I can leverage everything to everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. Sometimes like opportunities happen like on a whim.
Yeah, they just fall in your lap. Sort of.
Yeah, and when that does happen, it's a beautiful process. Because it's an interest that you love, and when you go down that road, like everything you do is something you enjoy. Yeah. I'll give credit to that. It's kind of same thing with the entertainment. That's what happened. I kind of just went on a just a random thing, and it ended up being what it is. And the process was enjoyable. It's just I just haven't figured out what I enjoy. I'm still figuring it out and that's basically what I did in my 20s. Just figuring things out. Luckily for me, I have a professional career, so it's not something like
same here.
It's like it has to be, or everything ends. It's not that. And maybe that's what's really holding me back. I don't know. Maybe I need to take that gamble. Who knows?
Well, I wouldn't up and quit your job, but I would say maybe find the ability to sink a little bit more time and energy into these things, because who knows where it can lead to,
Yeah.
That's the other thing that's unique with my photography, right? Is my camera got me through the door to so many places that I never would have gotten through without my camera. And by that I mean getting to shoot concerts and big music festivals, getting to meet tons of musicians and celebrities because of my camera, because I got press access, or I got backstage access to these events, and then I got to do meet and greets with these people and hang out. And I'm not like one of those big like where I go crazy over meeting celebrities. It's cool to meet them, and I appreciate it, and I like to just.
I honestly don't like meeting them.
No, I like to pick their brains a bit, and just see how they are off stage.
Yeah, because I've met. This is so funny. So I've met a couple of people that I've always said I wanted to meet,
and then they let you down.
No, they never let me down, like in a bad way. It's just, how do I explain it? Like, I understood the frustration they were having, like, because, like, let me give you an example. This was during, I would say, the heyday of short films.
Okay.
You ever remember? He's from Sugarland. You ever remember someone named Kevin Jumba?
Mm-mm.
No. So he was a local during a short film. He went to California and got involved with Wong Fu production. They did a lot of good shorts. It was actually one of the reasons why I got into short film.
Okay.
And I met him. I met his friend first, and his friend was willing to introduce me. And I met him, and it just he's always, like, he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. He is a great guy, cool guy to be around with. It's just when I met him, it just seems like he was always on a reserve, like, because he was actually a quite popular person at the time, and it just when I was very normal around them, it felt better.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just seeing them as a celebrity,
Yeah,
I just saw them as a human being, like, you know, a really interesting person, and they tend to be more relaxed. You know, instead of like seeking out for favors and, you know, all that kind of stuff. If you just treat them normal, you know, they're just normal people, and that's what's really most like. And that's just one example, but that was the main example I use with other people, like with high profile names. And I'm just normal around them, and they're great people. It's just that they just have this really weird wall around them, and
well, because they know that everybody just wants to use them and take advantage of them.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of like, you know, I understand the frustration, and it's like I kind of don't want to be around celebrities. You know, just like that.
I have a very similar take to what you just mentioned, and like, there's a reason I don't have pictures with a lot of the celebrities I met, because I don't want to be that guy that's like, hey, can I get a picture with you? You know, like, I do have pictures with a handful of them just because it happened naturally. It wasn't like a celebrity grab photo, right?
Yeah.
But if I were to try to just even start going down the list of all the people I've met, there's a lot of them, but I've only got photos with maybe 10 total, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, they're normal people like anybody else, and if you can have a normal conversation with them, I think to an extent they probably appreciate that too, because you're not constantly just trying to get a photo or fanboy them. You know, you're just talking to them like a normal person.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day I'll have celebrities on here. I have some people on my list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got one right now. You know, I'm a celebrity. In my own little world.
You know, with social media, everybody's a celebrity.
Absolutely. You know, now that I think about it, you know, possibly my next project, I do want to create a horror film. Yeah, I do.
I have an idea already in my head of script for one.
I have an idea too, and I guess I'm just going to spill the beans because I don't think it's really a secret. You know, I just always ask the question why it hasn't been done.
Okay.
So let me give you an idea. Let's work on this idea. So here's the layout. You know how what's that movie that deals with ghosts and demons?
Oh, so that's
paranormal activity.
Like Paranormal Activity.
Okay, yeah. So like in the Paranormal Activity universe, there's demons.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, is it wrong to say in the same universe there's Nephilim? Is it wrong to say that?
Forgive my ignorance. Nephilim.
A Nephilim. It's basically half human, half god. Half angel. If there's demons, there's angels, right?
Have you ever watched the TV series Supernatural?
I've heard of it. I never watched it.
I think there's quite a few characters in that TV series.
Okay.
That are basically Nephilim. I just didn't know it by name.
Okay, but in the same universe of logic, if there's demons, there's angels, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if there's angels, there's Nephilim.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep. Okay,
so watch, because I'm saying this, there's gonna be a movie made out of it now. Watch. So in a universe where the same concept of poltergeist, where demons are after humans, and Nephilims are hunted by the bounties of I'm not really too familiar with the whole Nephilim stories, but I do know that they're hunted by bounty hunters.
Okay.
Which is somewhat by the god, you know, because they don't want Nephilim to exist.
Yeah.
So, in this world where Nephilim are being hunted by bounty hunters, somehow, some way, there's this Nephilim where he was able to suppress his powers based on human emotions, human stress, human problems. Yeah. Somehow he was able to suppress it, and then like he was like, how would I say, like he was like, he got the worst of the worst. Like somehow, some way, luck was never on his side. He was always surrounded by tragic.
Yeah.
And so therefore, in this plot where where him and his family were able to by some little luck to purchase this haunted house that wasn't disclosed. Just your standard traditional haunted story where the house is cursed, but he didn't want to believe it because he believed in his own ignorance that this is an opportunity he can take, because opportunity was never his thing. Because he's always been burdened by issues. So him and his family moved into this house, and this house is haunted by some type of demon that preyed on the weak, preyed on emotions, preyed on his family. It was children. So think of it like Annabelle horror. Similar concept. And then he was, your standard traditional kids having problems. Kids start seeing these issues. Kids start feeling haunted. Kids tell the father and the mother they didn't want to believe it because, because it's like, this is a great house. They don't want to lose it. It's like it's a phase you'll get over. It's just like hard or like hard understanding ignorance.
Yeah.
So at this point where it's gotten to a point where it's getting really bad, the father's getting really frustrated, and somehow, some way, the mother was convinced, like she saw something that really spooked her, and in that storyline, when the father saw that, he knows that his wife isn't spooked so easily, or something's wrong with her. He would like, okay, so maybe there is something
that triggers.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, I need to somehow incorporate a story where he's like, all right, I gotta see what's up. And then one night, where I guess it's the really bad night, where they try to take the body of the child or something.
Yeah.
He hears something. He goes to the room, and then I'm botching the story completely. Somehow he was able to set up a trap, like to reveal who the demon is.
Okay.
Somehow, some way, I don't know, like maybe powder or something. I don't know.
Maybe a camera or
like how in Paranormal Activity they put baby powder on the floor and they saw the tracks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, like you flip the switch on, his body appears, or you put a mirror or something, his reflection shows. I don't know, something.
There's a lot of things because of my paranormal investigation group.
Yeah, like
you could use an Xbox Connect to map it out. The stick figure. You could do
correct
a FLIR heat signature camera.
Well, let's think Hollywood, not like real world thing. Let's think Hollywood, like just something where it's able to reveal the demon.
Yeah. And
he turns on the light. And then he looks at him, and like for some reason I get like this old DBZ Vegeta vibe. Like, you ever seen where they try to attack the androids? You ever seen that TV show?
I don't think so.
Well, he has a quote in there, and he's like, tell me, does machines feel fear? And I said so, and I was like, man, how can I integrate that same quote in this film? He was like, well, does demons feel fear?
Yeah, is there ever a moment where they're scared?
Yeah, and then because at this time, he has like he just has a bat in his hand, and like because this sense of like, how would I say, protectiveness, his Nephilim powers emerge, and like he was, I don't want to say he's like going Super Saiyan, but like some kind of
aura, some sort of light
holistic thing shows up, and the demon's like, oh shit, I would assume a demon would know Nephilim.
But if he's suppressed it and hidden it, he may not know.
Well, he doesn't know, but
I'm saying the demon may not know because he's managed to suppress it so well.
Correct. And once he sees it, like he senses some kind of like oh, you're a Nephilim, like oh shit.
He awakens the energy. Maybe the energy's been suppressed so far that the demon can't sense it. But now that he awoke the energy,
correct. And like he senses it, and he's like, and he talks this like apostle tongue, maybe demonic voice, whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy automatically senses it, and he speaks it too, and then he just beats the shit out of the demon. And then once that scene is done, because his Nephilim aura emerges, the bounty hunter senses it, and they come to his place, and then it's like he destroys the demon, but then he has another power and he has another issue to deal with.
Now he's becoming the prey again.
Yeah, and then all this chaos of like, it's just like it can't explain in one video. It's like maybe a 3-part video.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, but I was like, man, that's a really good horror film.
Just got to team up with some writers, man. I know a couple.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, man, why hasn't that like been done?
I wouldn't be surprised on some level if something close to it has been done, but it is fairly unique because I don't think the only thing I can think of that I've seen that's close to it is the series I just mentioned a minute ago. Supernatural.
Yeah, I just never seen the video, those TV shows.
So when I started doing, you were asking before we got started filming, you were asking if I still do my puzzle videos, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things with my puzzle videos that I enjoy is off camera, off to the side, I usually have my iPad running and I'm binge watching stuff, right? And in the time of doing my puzzles, I binge watched all, I think, 17 seasons of Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
Now it's been a couple years since I watched them. I think a good two years or so now. That's why I'm a little fuzzy on some of the details. But what I liked about that, because I do like paranormal stuff, I do like supernatural stuff, I do have an investigation team for paranormal investigations, is there were so many different entities or characters or like they go from vampires to like every supernatural being that you could imagine that you've never even heard of, they covered in that show. And so it was, for me, I liked it because I was like, oh, I'm like getting like an education on all these different beings that I didn't even know were supposedly in existence.
Oh man, you seen the new Sandman?
I saw that. Okay, so I almost started watching it last night, but it's a series, and so I was like, I don't want to watch a series last night. I watched a couple movies last night. Instead.
Dude, the Sandman on Netflix, the new one.
Is it good?
It's amazing.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Dude, they did Death amazing.
I'm gonna have to watch it then.
Like, oh man, how do I explain it? Like, they really went off on the creative end and used absolutely no barriers to explain a story. And when they introduced Death as a sister, I'm just gonna just go like that. I was like, oh my god, it makes so much sense. Because like everyone has a stigma of death.
Yeah.
Like, just dark creature, soulless dark
Grim
creature.
Reaper, yeah.
Yeah. And the way they represent this character, I was like, oh my god, it's amazing.
I can't wait to see it. Don't tell me any more than that.
That's it. It's such a great show. Like, I'm probably going to watch it again.
That's one thing I like about Netflix, is there's a show that I watch. It's not paranormal related at all, but The Boys on Amazon Prime, right?
Oh, the superheroes?
Yeah, and so the newest season came out about a month or two ago, and it was season 3, I believe. Maybe it's even season 4, I don't know. But it annoyed me because they decided with this season that they were going to release them week by week. And I'm like, just release the whole thing. I just want to binge watch it. For me, I don't want to wait from one week to the next. And then also I feel like you lose a lot of detail, right? So if you have the time to sit and binge a show, the storyline flows much more smoothly, and you can remember the important things. Now I know they always do the recaps at the beginning and all that stuff, but I just prefer to sit and binge a show. If I really like a show, I want to watch all 10 episodes, in 1 or 2 sittings and be done with it, and okay, now it's done. I don't want to space it out over 2 months or 3 months or however long. I just want to watch it and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, they should really have that option too.
And that's one thing I like about Netflix is pretty much everything is
dropped in one day
for the most part, and Amazon was that way, but I think with this, The Boys is a very successful piece of content for them. So I think that in their eyes are like, oh, if we make people come back every week, maybe we'll pick up viewers on other programming, right?
Yeah.
Not me. I just waited till they had dropped every episode, and then I binged it.
Yeah.
So I waited a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole idea of The Boys was actually a superhero show that everyone really wanted.
Yeah, where it's the dark and gritty side of how people would really be if they had all these they're not all going to be like good guys.
Yeah, and shout out to Zack Snyder for doing that approach. Before, not, I mean, I know he didn't direct The Boys, but like with his whole Watchmen, you know, the Watchmen when it came out, you know, his type of effects really kind of highlighted a little bit of the type of superheroes, like, you know, people wanted.
Yep.
But then Marvel came around and kind of like made it a little bit childish, which I can understand because that was just the comic book nature of it. Sometimes, you know, it just shows the superhero is always the good person, you know, and they're somewhat evil. And DC's kind of like somewhat the opposite.
It's kind of in the middle there.
Yeah, you know, there's some good, there's some bad. And then The Boys is like, you know, oh, these are really godly, powerful people with some unnatural human strength.
Yep.
And what's his name? Who's the main character off of The Boys?
The blonde guy?
Yeah.
I know his name and I'm drawing a
Yeah,
blank.
but like, you know, he's like
Overlander.
Yeah. And he's like, I can literally kill all y'all and not give two shits. He's a god.
What's interesting, what they did to tie in though, is they did have the Disneyfying or Marvel effect in there, in that the public persona sees them as these good guys.
Yeah.
And over the seasons, that starts to degrade, and people start to see them like, oh, these aren't like super good people. They have all these capabilities, but they're not always doing things at the best interest, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch the most recent season?
I haven't.
It goes a very different direction from the first two seasons, so just prepare yourself.
Oh, yeah. No, was it the third season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the third season. I just haven't watched the complete third season yet.
Okay.
I see. Where was I? Where did I stop at? Fuck, I forget.
See, that's what happens when they release them 1 week at a time. You only end up.
Yeah, no, because I was like so much going on at the time. I believe Kenobi was running at the same time.
I didn't watch that one.
You didn't watch Kenobi?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's another series you need to watch.
Is that one based off a video game, or what is that one?
The Star Wars.
Oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, Kenobi.
You know
Bro,
what?
you was
Star Wars, like,
you had the perfect teenage year. You grew up when the Phantom Menace came out.
Pretty much given up on Star Wars, to be honest with you. Like, I liked the original 3 Star Wars that came out in the 70s when I was a kid.
Such an 80s.
And 70s, 80s, yeah. And then the ones where they came out with part 1, 2, and 3, and when digital film was a thing.
Yeah.
They're okay. They just lacked substance. They were just kind of empty. It was like, let's go into all the special effects and not give a shit about the storyline.
Well, that was the time. That was that era, you know, when visual graphics was becoming of. I mean, it was a thing, you know. That's how Toy Story was made.
Yep.
But during that time, it's just, you know, with the limits of George Lucas did during the 80s, you know, that's all they had.
But I appreciate it more, but because they was more about the story than just super clean visuals, right? And then what was the one where Ren, or whatever her name is,
are you talking about the newer ones?
Yeah, it was part like technically like 5.5 or 4.5 or something like that. And then when Kylo Ren came into the story, and there's the chick that learns all the way and all that.
Oh, Rey.
So tell me how Rey learned in 5 minutes what took a whole movie for what's his face to learn in the early movies, right?
Oh, you know who she is, right?
Yeah. So it's like, and then those storylines are almost exact cookie cutter replicas of the original movies. So it's like boring.
Who is Rey?
She's supposed to be a daughter of of Princess Leia and Harrison Ford.
No.
Or no, is she supposed to be I haven't watched these movies in years.
Okay, so to give you an idea, she's the grandchild of the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious.
Okay.
So, because the reason why she's so powerful is because of she's like the child that Darth Sidious always wanted, like the offspring, and like she can bear his type of powerness or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the how would I say the fine details, but that's all I know. And because she's I guess somewhat related to Darth Sidious, it kind of makes sense because you know the power of the Sith Lord goes through her veins.
The
You know,
but the storylines are just almost cookie cutter copies of the original films.
Yeah, there's some is.
They lack any substance. Like everything's predictable, and I just lost interest. I haven't watched any of the Disney series of Star Wars. Whatever the one is with the
Mandalorian,
Boba Fett or whatever.
Boba Fett
or Mandalorian. I haven't watched any of them, and I probably won't. And I've gotten that same way with Marvel. I really, really enjoyed the Marvel series that were on Netflix. I think they did a fantastic job with those. I liked Punisher. I liked Jessica Jones. I liked Daredevil was okay. Iron Fist and Avengers. I liked all of those, right? And then you look at the stuff that they're putting out on Disney, and Disney is so focused on family friendly. Punisher would never have been what it is under Disney, and now supposedly they're going to do Punisher, and there's talks of like, are they going to redo it all? Is what's his face from Walking Dead even going to be on it anymore, or are they going to completely like act like that never happened and start fresh? I don't know, but
that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's kind of like what's with DC too.
Yeah,
and you know, with Zack Snyder and the Justice League, you know, he had a really good, like, ever since people like to watch the Zack Snyder Justice League movie, but they never really watched the actual full length of the Justice movie.
I haven't watched either of them.
That's like, I think it was like 4 hours.
I'm so burned out on okay, I know I like the show The Boys, but I think it's because they took a different approach.
Yeah.
But I'm over all the superhero movies.
Yeah.
I'm over all these Star Wars movies. It's like, in the last 10 to 15 years,
that's all it's been.
Yeah, it's like shit gets old after a while, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know there's lots of horror and paranormal movies and things like that too, but
that's coming up too.
What happened to original one-off movies that were interesting and good? You know, like what happened to good comedies? Like the comedies that even come out these days are. Well, there's some of them that are decent. There are, but it's not like. I don't know, well, and this comes. Sorry, but this kind of comes from. I'll skim through my own DVD collection, or I'll look through streaming stuff from like the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s, and there was a better variety.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we live in a. I mean, honestly, man, we live in a realm, not in a realm, in a world where we just want to create this own universe of films.
Yeah,
you know,
they want something they can capitalize on financially.
That too, you know. I mean, of course, you got to make money, but the idea of like you're one and done. We're past that now. It's like, how can we create a franchise?
Yeah, when I say one and done, but I mean it could be a 2 or 3 or 4 part series, but everything doesn't have to be a universe. Yeah,
I mean, I agree. Just like, let me give you an example, like Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, they're going to do the rebirth.
Yeah, you know.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Exactly. Like, who would have thought, like, you know, Jeepers Creepers will ever be a franchise? But now people are like, man, how did the Creeper become the Creeper?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, where did it begin? And that's what I really love about this, because you're expanding into this, like, storyline where this one and done type films no longer work, you know.
No, and I can appreciate that, because having a backstory is nice. Like,
let me give you an example. Like, the Blair Witch. If they would have done the Blair Witch, no, this is just my opinion, the correct way, and kind of focus on that old Belady first colonization. Like, how did the witch become the witch? You know, how did that legend become of? Or The Conjuring. You know, who is Bathsheba? You know, you know, all that kind of really good backstories that we can learn. Well, just makes the movies a lot more better.
The Conjuring is turning into a universe as well, so all those films interconnect with each other, and that's kind of an interesting take on that, you know.
Oh yeah.
So when I say one and done, I don't necessarily mean just a single movie. I just like something different that is like, even if it's a. You know, okay, here's an example.
Like Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber could be a good one-off.
Yeah, when they did Dumb and Dumb, but like the Rambo series, right?
Oh man,
those like
that's a trilogy.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 of those, right?
Yeah.
I think it was an interesting movie that I just watched, Prey, which was a spin-off of The Predator, right? Have you watched it yet, Prey, on Hulu?
I haven't watched The Prey yet.
It's done really well.
Is it?
Yeah, but these are movies that were from 80s and 90s, and technically they were one-off movies, and some of them, and they did come in to have sequels, and and they were still good. What I'm getting at is like, we need some of those movies today that start off as a single movie that can grow into a franchise, but have nothing to do with superheroes, nothing to do with all this sci-fi stuff, like just something that just stands on its own. So not one and done, but something that stands on its own, that's not tied to some existing franchise. Like I've heard they're even trying to find a way to roll the character of the Predator into MCU. Predator does not need to be part of the Marvel comic universe.
Well, I think that's because they've done that in the comics.
Did they though?
Yeah, there's a lot of like most of the MCU is based off what they've done in the comics.
I just didn't think there was any connection.
I mean, when you deal with multiverse, there's always a connection somehow, some way. That's the thing when they created the multiverse.
Yeah,
nothing makes sense in the multiverse, and and that's honestly that's pretty genius, because they can do anything they want. Especially with the scene where they have all three Spider-Mans in one scene.
I thought that was interesting too.
That was interesting, and it's there's no logic in it. It's just because it's the multiverse.
And I enjoy these movies.
Yeah,
I'm just like super burned out on them.
I agree.
Like,
yeah,
I couldn't tell you the last time I went to a movie theater and what movie I saw. But all these movies that are coming out these days, I'm like, I haven't seen it yet. But all these movies that are coming out these days, I'm like, I'm perfectly fine watching them on an iPad or a laptop or my home TV, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not drawn. There's no movie that says, hey, you should come see this in the theater. Top Gun, probably one of them. I just haven't done it yet.
What about the Batman? You seen the Batman?
The one with Robert Pattinson? It took me 3 sittings to get through it because I was so bored with it that I kept falling asleep.
Are you serious?
I hated the commentary.
Oh, God.
He always looked like he needed to take a bath. Like he was like the dirtiest looking Batman I've ever seen.
That's the
Bruce Wayne is supposed to be known as like the smooth guy, like honestly, it was probably one of my least favorite Batmans ever.
Come on.
I did not enjoy it at all.
Okay, so
and I'm not a fan of him as an actor, but I even excluded that from the decision. No, I just really didn't like it. I thought it was. I thought what's his face did a great job in his role.
Riddler.
Was Riddler Colin Farrell?
Or the Penguin?
Penguin. Yeah, I like Colin Farrell. I think he did great, but just the story was just boring, and it was.
Oh man.
My favorite Batman is for me.
Don't say Nolan.
Goes back to the 90s to
Batman Forever.
No, the one before that.
Batman
Keaton,
and Robin.
Michael Keaton.
Oh.
And then after that, I like the series that came out in the 2000s with.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No. Is it Nolan? No. Christian Bale.
That's Nolan.
Yeah, I like those. I think the backstory on him was good. I think the cinematography was good.
Yeah.
Like, now, Christian Bale every once in a while, he was, Batman. Like, that part was kind of corny, like how he would like put this extra emphasis on his voice. But those movies were entertaining. They had a great storyline.
Yeah.
The acting was on point. They were very, very well done. The ones like you're talking about, Schwarzenegger and Jim Carrey and all those got too cheesy to me.
Well, that's the nature of it, though.
Yeah.
Like I get what you're saying. The curse of Nolan. Like I love Nolan as a director. He makes phenomenal videos. But with directors like Nolan doing kind of like a superhero film, he makes it extremely too realistic. I get what you're saying. With the likelihood of this character being more of a real life character are pretty high because it's based on realism. Where the newer Batman, to kind of give you an idea, the character of that Batman was in his infancy of being Batman, meaning that he didn't have it pinned down. He was still discovering his purpose as Batman. The nature of his character was still being discovered, and the grittiness, the realness, and like this fictitiousness of, I don't know if that's a word.
Fictitiousness.
Yeah. It's just that film basically gave everything what people wanted to see in a Batman. Like we all know the guy's backstory. Come on, man. Like we know billionaire kids died, parents died. You know, he's an orphan, boohoo. You know, he's filthy rich. We all get it. You know, but we just wanted to see more of Batman doing detective work.
Yeah.
And that's what that film did. It was like more of him doing detective work, being actual Batman, and more being a really, how would I say, not very cheesy type superhero, but more of a darker story.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's when Riddler came in. I was like, man, this is, even in the movie theaters when I watched it, I was like, man, this is a brutal show. I was like, oof, you know, because of the type of scenes they were doing, like, you know, the plot plan of assassination to the mayor.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I hope some psychopaths don't do something in this movie theater.
Yeah, there's idiots out there, man, that'll take this stuff to heart and go out and try to.
And that's when I realized, like, man, they did this film really well.
I'm not gonna say it wasn't put together well, because I can appreciate it from that standpoint.
Yeah.
I was just bored with it.
Oh yeah, no, you know, that's very understandable. You know, and I was kind of hoping that it wasn't another backstory of Batman. He loses parents and, you know, all that BS. I just wanted to see something more.
Yeah.
And this show showed us something more. And then when you look into the extended credits and the deleted scene, there was a scene where he was actually in Arkham's asylum, talking to the Joker.
I think I watched all the credits.
Yeah. And that part, and like, you know, and what's his face? Heath Ledger?
Yeah.
Heath Ledger,
yeah.
He did a phenomenal role of playing Joker, but that was chaos. That was like how would I say, like chaos Joker. Like, he's crazy. But the Joker that was in the Batman gave more of a sadistic type Joker.
I like
he's like fucking crazy.
I liked Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
That was all right.
I still have yet to watch Suicide Squad. I've never had any interest in watching it.
Yeah. I think Jared Leto, he did a phenomenal job as Joker. He just got screwed over.
Yeah.
Really bad.
And then, what's her face? The blonde?
Harley Quinn.
I watched that movie, and it was so painful to sit through.
I never watched that one.
It was...
Yeah, I give you credit on that one.
I just was like, if Suicide Squad is anything like this, I can't sit through Suicide Squad, because that movie was just...
Oh, so the newer Suicide Squad? Are you talking about that one?
Well, isn't she part of that?
So she is, but she's not the main. She's not one of the main characters. So the newer Suicide Squad.
No, I haven't watched any of the Suicide Squads.
Okay, so the newer Suicide Squad is actually really good.
Okay, I need to watch them. I mean, I'm sure I'll enjoy them to an extent. It's just...
Yeah, so that's
where I get burned out on some of this stuff after a while. I'm like...
Oh, no, that's understandable. Like, the Pacemaker, he's in the Suicide Squad. That one, the newer version of Suicide Squad is actually a lot better.
Okay.
It's actually more enjoyable.
I went on a cruise in April.
Yeah.
And on the streaming TV they have in there, they had a lot of the superhero movies. And that's actually where I caught up on some of the more recent superhero movies, because I watched the Doctor Strange movie, I think, and I watched Spider-Man and maybe one other. I think I watched like 3 different ones while on the cruise.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, I just haven't really cared to check them out. You know?
I agree. I'm still like I moved past that, and now I'm more on the horror side. It's funny.
You're just now discovering the horror stuff.
No, it's not that I discover. It's just I'm enjoying it a lot more. Like, horror film has a lot of backstory that's been really untapped.
Yep.
That, you know, it's just, to me, it's just more entertaining.
Because there's always been an era of just slasher films.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you can start going deeper, like you're talking about your film idea, there's a way you can build on it a lot more than it currently is being taken.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the idea of, you know, you have your paranormal activity type vibes, you know, preying on scared people, and then all of a sudden, you know, the family he's trying to prey on ended up being a Nephilim. Yeah. And that Nephilim, and the guy discovers, like, he's a fucking Nephilim. And I was like, oh, shit, I mean, he still doesn't know what a Nephilim is.
Yeah.
But he sensed that aura, like that
it comes out.
And then all of a sudden, the bounty hunters that you know hunt down Nephilim shows up at his door space, and it's like and this is another thing that I was thinking about. I was like, all right, so typically any type of demons are doing some kind of like preying on humans are some kind of like high ranked demons, especially in the Conjuring season. I mean the Conjuring videos.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, I was like, man, what if somehow, some way, this character who discovers as a Nephilim ends up either hurting or destroying this demon, ends up being somehow related to a higher power demon and this realm of I don't know, structure.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you have him wanting to come on Earth, who is like some ungodly ranked demon. And then you have this bounty hunter attacking this Nephilim, and all of a sudden you have like this holy war.
With that story, what's interesting about and talk about backstories is you could do backstories like 3 or 4 different directions.
Yeah, and it's like
and build around it.
Correct, and it's like, man, that's so crazy. It just gives me this like I don't know, just like nerdy feeling of something I just thought of.
Well, here's where we leverage people that are viewing right now, right? And listening is if
don't take my idea.
No, don't take his idea. Help him build his idea.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna put Jesse's. What would you want to plug in the description? Like your YouTube channel or
no, just my Instagram channel. It's just more what I'm more active on. It's at Mr.N_S-R.
So he's gonna send me that as well, and I'll put it in the video description.
Yeah.
And fast forward to the future when this is on a podcast network, I don't know what the capabilities are of putting stuff yet, but once I figure out what they are, it'll be in the description or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But well, hey man, this has been fun, dude. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And I'm also going to put a link up somewhere. I am going to put a link to when I guested on his podcast, so I'm going to send them over there.
Yeah.
But if you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe, like this video, share this video, comment below, let me know where you're listening from. And if you're on the podcast networks, since I'm not on there yet, but this will be eventually, do all the podcast things, follow me or subscribe or download or whatever those things are. I don't even know what they are.
We're still learning.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
All right. Thank you.
Later.
Later.